And now I would like to ask Chibaula, please, to give your perspective.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Firstly, I would like to thank you for according me this opportunity to participate in this panel discussion. I strongly believe that the United Nations system has done fairly well so far to show that it is fit to address the member states' requests of support to advance gender equality as well as women's empowerment. If we take a look, for example, the report on the gender mainstreaming in the UN system that is before the Council today, we can see that the UN system is making concerted efforts in this direction to ensure that gender mainstreaming is integrated in all the policies as well as programs at all levels to deliver key results that can benefit women and girls globally as well as men. As she explained, gender is not all about women only. It caters for both men and women. So I think the UN is doing a commendable job in that respect. However, I agree that the world has changed dramatically since the adoption of the Beijing Declaration and, of course, the Platform for Action, as well as the Millennium Development Declaration and the MDGs. Therefore, it's obvious that the implication for the United Nations, and it will need to keep pace with the changing times in order to fit for this purpose and to the changing times as well as to the demands of the modern times. Perhaps I would like to focus briefly on 4 specific areas where the UN system must or should fit to further enhance the work on gender mainstreaming and gender equality. I'll start by looking at the aspect of linking the normative and the operational. Right. The United Nations system has to work collectively to bring together the normative, the coordination, as well as the operational roles to support the implementation of the member states' commitments on gender mainstreaming as well as gender equality. It must also endeavor to deliver as one, building on experiences gained so far in order to achieve the set objectives. And I think the overall objective of the establishment of the UN Women by member states was to see greater linkages between normative work as well as operational activities in support of gender equality as well as women's empowerment. Madam Moderator, I also touch on the Secretary General's report on gender mainstreaming and those on the implementation of the Quadrennial Comprehensive Policy Review, the QCPR, for example, which highlight the progress made so far in this respect. And I believe this must be the model throughout the organization that has to be taken in consideration, all the programs. And of course, more work will be greatly needed to further strengthen the linkages between the normative, the coordination, as well as the operational activities of the UN in support of a new post-2015 development agenda that is universal and transformative and also rights-based. I also touch on the aspect of capacity building on gender mainstreaming. The UN system must invest in capacity building on gender mainstreaming at the institutional level in order to better support member states' implementation of the commitments on gender mainstreaming at regional and, of course, at national level. It is important that the gender mainstreaming is undertaken in all sectors at the national level. The other aspect that I would want to highlight on is the need to strengthen data collection and analysis. If we look at if we are to make progress in gender mainstreaming and gender equality, we need reliable data. And therefore, the UN's ability to focus on strengthening data collection as well as analysis for policy development, monitoring and evaluation will make a great difference in this score. It is especially important to strengthen existing data sources and look at innovative ways of gathering data and information. It is important for the UN system as well to be able to provide technical and financial support, especially to developing countries like mine, in order to assist in building solid statistical systems as well as capacity. As you may know, national statistical institutions greatly need the support. Many of them do not have sufficient human resource as well as financial resources and other resources that they may need for them to carry out their activities. And of course, the UN must therefore work much more coherently as a system to support national statistical bodies. Madam Moderator, I also want to touch on the issues of funding for gender mainstreaming and gender equality work. This is very cardinal. Of course, within the context of the discussion on financing sustainable development, there is a great need to look specifically at securing adequate funding for gender mainstreaming and gender equality work in the UN system in order to enhance support to member states. And of course, we know that at all levels, be it global, regional, and national, finance and human resources have generally been insufficient to do this important work. And therefore, there is need for the UN system to critically assess the allocation of funds for the work on gender mainstreaming and gender equality and ensure that they are adequate and indeed dedicated. And the ability to leverage more and better financing for gender equality will be critical for effective implementation of new global commitments in the post-2015 development agenda. Of course, I would also want to give a perspective on my own country, Zambia, to indicate that the Zambian government is in...
But we can come to that if we may.
Okay, sure. Yes. Thank you very much, Madam Secretary.
Thank you very much. So the member states have spoken, and Bridget, what's your response? What's your vision? And of course, they have straight away gone into the gender mainstreaming context and the UN fit for purpose. So maybe you can still give a little overview and then go into the gender aspect. Please.
Good morning, colleagues, and thank you, Lakshmi, and thanks to the government representatives for putting the UN's fit for purpose, and particularly in the area of women's rights and gender mainstreaming on the agenda.